Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. I'm here today with a special guest, your first time appearing on my channel, my guy Jacob, also known as Jacoblocks. How's it going, my man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yes, sir. It should be a great episode. We got a lot of good topics that we're going to talk about. And let's start with, you know, your favorite team, the New York Knicks.
Oh,
Unfortunately, yep, I love you got the Randall jersey back there and everything, and the logo. That's nice. But you know, unfortunately, Jalen Brunson got hurt at the start of that last game against the Cavs, and it seems like it's a little bit more on the optimistic side for his injury, which is good. But there's been so many guys injured for you guys lately. I think there was like the other game there was like four of you guys' five normal starters were just out, and so
hmm
I think you might have actually been the one who put that out there that I saw that say that. But like, I guess like how important is it not just for all you guys to get healthy, but most importantly, this guy who's really been like kind of the engine of your team.
Yeah. So when I saw like literally not even a full minute into the game, Jalen Brunson went down, my heart sank. It looked at first like it was a no contact injury, and those are always the scariest and the worst. Like I was so scared that it was over, that he was out for the season. Like wrap it up. Luckily, like you said, it's looking like it's going to be more of a not as bad injury. Like I think he's questionable for tonight's game against the Hawks. Um, so I mean, it's really important that we do get healthy, especially him. I'd rather him sit out this game, just fully get 100% healthy before coming back, because yeah, we can't handle having him out on top of Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson. All those guys are looking like they should be coming back soon, and we need them to come back soon. So I would just take it really easy with Brunson, and then hopefully we can all get everyone back for the playoffs and be back to that team we were looking like before.
Yeah, I just think like it's so important, especially for Brunson, because like you look at like some of the top guards in the league, whether it's someone like Steph or if it's Kyrie or something like that. Like there might be other guys that maybe people will say is like a more skilled player than Brunson, but the thing that Brunson I think has an edge on over a lot of point guards that really translates into winning is just the way he like controls the game. And you can tell like when you guys went on that big win streak with OG Anunoby, and he's even missed some games too, but like most of that was also because of the way he really controlled the game. Like you could argue he had a good argument to win Player of the Month in January or whatever, I believe. So like
Mm-hmm.
considering that, and then also like obviously you guys have kind of been out with the center. I know you guys got I think Isaiah Hardenstein back the other day, but obviously Randall's been out. Like I said, OG, and you're also implementing like new guys to the team that really like the trade deadline's so weird now because it's like you put it like a week before All Star Week or All Star Weekend, so you only get like maybe 2 or 3 games to get adjusted if you're traded. Then you have another week or so layoff, and then you have to get adjusted again. So like guys like Bogdanovich or Alec Burks, like that's why it's kind of been up and down. The other night they were really good though, but that's why like you guys have I think you're like what 3-7 in the last 10 or something like that. So like
Yeah.
it's an adjustment period for sure. And I think that's why it's really important, especially to be healthy, like with all these guys. But if there's one guy who can really like turn the tides, I think it's definitely Brunson.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as a Knick fan, we've been through years, decades of not having a point guard, a solid point guard. And to have Jalen Brunson there, it's really night and day. You could see how much value a steady point guard can give you, whether it's just settling down the offense. He is, in my opinion, one of the best scorers in the NBA. He can really get a bucket at any moment. He knows kind of when to get other people involved, like a lead by example type of guy. He is the heart and soul of this Knicks team. Super important. So without him, I feel like we have no chance of winning. Obviously, he's been trying to keep us afloat without Julius and OG, and we've had other guys step up. Like Josh Hart has been amazing. Dante DiVincenzo is coming off of his best month of basketball in his entire career. Like guys like that stepping up is really important. But yeah, it all starts with Jalen Brunson. It all ends with Jalen Brunson. He is the Knicks.
Yeah, and I think even with especially Josh Hart, because I think prior to this year, like I think he'd never had a triple double, and I think he's already had like 3 or 4 this season. Now, the contrary to that, and this is what some people were even saying with Brunson's injury, is that we know who your guys' coach is, Tom Thibodeau, and he loves playing the starter. Literally the other day, you guys lost to Golden State. It was close, but like not like close enough. And Josh Hart didn't even sit one full minute of the game. So, do you think like that's a concern, like with him overplaying the starters? It's always been a concern. I feel like for previous teams. Trust me, I know. I'm a Bulls fan. I saw it with
Yeah.
Derrick Rose. So like, what do you think? Like, is that a concern moving into the playoffs, especially with all these injuries that have already piled up?
So, in my opinion, I don't think so. Obviously, you had the whole situation with Derrick Rose, and I
Mm.
think that kind of amplifies this idea of Tom Thibodeau, like really pushing his stars and playing them for long periods of time and everything. And he does play heavy minutes. But I saw a stat, I don't have the exact numbers, but before we had all our injuries, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle were the points leaders or the minutes leaders on the Knicks, and neither of them were top 15 in the league. You know, like they play heavy minutes because they are stars and they are really important to our team, but they weren't like anything out of the ordinary. And I think honestly, like Julius Randle, the dislocated shoulder, that was like a crazy injury. You know, that's not really just because he's been on the floor for a while. OG, you can maybe argue that that was a minutes thing because when he came to the Knicks, I think he was averaging like 40 minutes a game, like something insane. But I don't really have too much of like I don't think it's not, it doesn't bother me personally. I feel like the players are good. It kind of like the whole culture of our team right now is like hard work, you know, high effort, high energy, and that's how we've been playing. So I personally don't think it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see though. Like I said, it's been a theme. It has happened in the past, but um, you know, it's just gonna be really interesting because like there's so many pieces that you guys have to still incorporate. Like with the full, like you bring in Randall, obviously the guys from the deadline, and then Brunson get back healthy, and then because basically I think everybody is supposed to be there except Mitchell Robinson for the playoffs, basically, right? So like it's an adjustment period, and this is like a weird part of the season, especially because like people are gonna take their foot off the gas a little bit. But I think like this could be the time that the Knicks start getting it more together, while maybe like other teams at the top, like Boston, might be a little bit more easygoing because they have that first seed on lock. Or the Bucks right now, I feel like they're kind of getting it going, but like maybe a week or two before the season is when they kind of take their foot off the gas or something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think because it's a bad timing for us right now because with us falling in the standings with these injuries, like we're now really close to that play-in, and no team wants to be in the play-in. So I think that's kind of what's forcing Tibbs' hand to play Deuce McBride 47 of the remaining minutes after Jalen Brunson went down, or play Josh Hart like almost 45 minutes a game recently. Like I think he really is trying to make sure we maybe even just hold that 4 seed to have home court advantage in the first round, but definitely keep us out of that play-in. So I feel like that's kind of his idea of why the increase in minutes, and then obviously we are just so thin that we go into games sometimes having 7 active players. Like there's no way around playing heavy minutes if you only have 7 to 8 guys.
Yeah, no, that does make sense, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens for your Knicks. But if you want, we can move on to not a Knicks player, but obviously Wally Zerbiak's with you guys, and I guess his rival over the past year has become Tyrese Haliburton in some weird way. But the Pacers really, the last like month and a half, 2 months have kind of, I guess, like eased up a little bit ever since the in-season tournament, going to the finals there. I think like the hype has kind of slowed down a little bit more, which is a little weird because they did make a big trade deadline move to get Pascal Siakam. So I think a lot of people would have been more hyped for that. But part of that too is just because like Tyrese Haliburton, ever since he came back from his injury, hasn't really been looking the same. And this is a guy who was probably top 5 in MVP voting first 2 months of the year. Now, I mean, there might be a question mark. Is he even all NBA deserving, assuming he like qualifies? And so like, what do you think this cold streak has really been all about really for Tyrese Haliburton?
So I feel like it could be a few different things. Like you mentioned, it kind of has started like right when he went out with that hamstring injury and he missed those extended period of time. So I feel like that could kind of knock him off the rhythm because, I mean, him and the Pacers, like you said, they were rolling to start the
Mm.
beginning of the season, having really great wins against like guys like Boston. And, Tyrese was obviously a huge part of that. And then, like you said, now he's been back and he hasn't been shooting the ball as well. He's been super inefficient. He had his worst game of his entire basketball career against the Pelicans. That was
So bad.
a crazy game. The whole Pacers organization was just rough that game. But I do think that it's nothing too much to worry about. I feel like it is, when it comes down to it, just kind of a shooting slump that is mixed into him trying to get back, and get healthy fully. So, I mean, obviously it's a really bad timing for the Pacers to go through something like this because everything is so tight in that like 8-5, 8-4 range, and they want to, climb out of that play in. But I feel like eventually Tyrese has to come back to, the normal. He, for his whole career, has been above 40% 3-point shooter. Now, I think in the last few games since the All-Star break, it's like 22% or something crazy. So I feel like eventually he's going to start hitting those shots. He's still taking the same shots he used to make. So I feel like eventually it'll just fall and he'll get back to that, around 40%.
Yeah, I think like I do agree. I think part of it is like the injury and stuff like that. And then coming back from that, like sometimes some people, I guess, like get integrated a little differently. I think part of it too is like, this is even like before Embiid was out like for the full year, but like, or not the full year, but like out enough to not qualify for like MVP. But, Haliburton was always like up there mentioned too. It was like him and Embiid were kind of like the two main guys, and Jimmy Butler, I guess too, that were like star level players that were on the brink of not being eligible. And I feel like he basically was forced to play and come off the bench for games maybe before he was 100% healthy. You know what I mean? Which, I mean, I think some people have mixed reactions about that because it's like maybe some people think like you care more about like an individual award than you do like actually like for the sake of, hurting your team or something like that. But there's also people where it's like, there's this 20-minute rule or something like that you have to play as well, which I also think is kind of dumb. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to play if you qualify for like the actual league stats. You shouldn't have to play 20 minutes in every game to qualify for that. You know what I mean? Like, he could just start a game, foul, get him out if that's all it takes to qualify, but you're not having him like run up and down when he's probably hurt. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it, but I also think too, it's like just the trajectory of the team. I know like we talked about like the Siakam move and like really that I feel like that should have given him more hype, but like I feel like at the same time, it looked good for a short moment, but I feel like them trading Buddy Hield really just didn't make sense. Like I feel like that was like a perfect fit for Haliburton. What were you gonna say? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I agree. I thought it was a very weird trade for them. I get he was on like the last year of his deal, and coming into the season, he has expressed that like he doesn't really want to stay in Indiana. So I feel like that kind of was what pushed their hand. But I feel like if they held on to Buddy and somehow convinced him like, yo, this is a good spot for you, we can get this going. I think they would look a lot better because, I mean, as we see over in Philly now, he has been killing it ever since going over there. And he is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league for the last few seasons now. And that's a big part of the Pacers offense. So I feel like them getting rid of Buddy, then also, like you said, bringing in Pascal, Tyrese has been in and out of the lineup. I feel like that could be what's been hard for them to really catch a rhythm and get back to what they were in the beginning of the season. Because, I mean, like I said, they were rolling there. Now with all these moving parts, I think that could be a part of it. And that could, be a little bit of why Tyrese is also in that slump.
Yeah, I think too, it's just like, I know he was like kind of on the fence about like wanting to stay in Indiana. Granted, though, too, Siakam, there were rumors that he was not going to sign an extension with the Pacers, and then he came there, and now it seems like there's more optimism that he will. But I'm just saying, like, so they traded for Siakam, what was it, like middle of January probably, right? And the trade deadline was like first week of February. So there's like maybe a 2.5, 3 week gap. Like, I don't know. I would have maybe taken the risk and just ran it through with Buddy Hield for this year and maybe like let it run its course. And then, because I think the biggest problem they had at the start of the year was definitely their defense. Like, they could score with the best of the league, really better than anybody else in the league. but they would also give up as many points as probably the Wizards. So like it was just like not looking good. But I feel like you add in a guy like Siakam who isn't like I guess an all defensive level player, but definitely helps him out in that regard. And then you also have shooting still alongside you. Like now I feel like it's a little bit weird because now other guys that aren't necessarily shooters, like maybe Ben Mathurin, for example, who I'm high on. I think he's going to be a really good player eventually, and he's already a pretty good player. But like, I think he's more of a scorer than a shooter, and especially in like this system per se. Like, I feel like he's more so a guy that would thrive on isolation scoring, and maybe like down the stretch of games could also relieve Haliburton a little bit, but especially throughout the course of the game, especially if like Haliburton's coming off screens or something like that, like you want a guy like Buddy Hield there. And so getting rid of him, like who, like you said, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, like it just didn't really make too much sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree fully. I feel like Buddy, is that perfect piece in their offense. Like they really want to go heavy on 3-point shooting, high pace, like, shoot, go, go, go type of thing. And that's exactly what Buddy is. Pascal, he comes in and he is relieving a little bit of like Haliburton and all his duties and everything. But like you said, now they don't really have that reliable 3-point shooter. I mean, Aaron Nesmith has been great this season. He has been, his growth in 3-point shooting has been good. But besides that, like everyone's kind of hit or miss, especially now that Tyrese is in this big slump of 3-point shooting. I feel like that's definitely negatively impacting their offense. And then, like we said, they don't really have the defense to fall back on. And that now we're here.
Yeah. We'll see if the Pacers can keep it going, though, like in the positive direction more so, because right now, like you said, they're in 8th, and my Bulls aren't going to catch them. What am I saying? They're fine. No, but anyways, we can move on. We can talk about two teams that have been playing really well, though. One of them is the 1 seed. The other one is the defending champs, Boston Celtics and the Denver Nuggets. I think combined, they are on a 17-game winning streak with 11 straight by Boston and 6 straight by the Nuggets. And obviously, like, Denver has the championship experience. Boston doesn't have that yet, but Boston's also playing really good. I think they showed a stat. They're the only team ever to win 3 games in a season by 50 or more points, which is really insane. So I guess, like, who would you probably say is been playing more dominant lately, and maybe who would you trust in this playoffs maybe a little bit more?
So when you talk about domination, I feel like you have to talk about the Boston Celtics. They just beat the Golden State Warriors, which are a good team. They've been, really turning the corner recently by 52 points. Like that is the definition of domination. And I feel like they have one of, if not the best starting 5. And then even if you extend that, their top 6 is amazing. They have a lot of versatility, both defensively and then offense. They have shooters. They have guys that can get their own buckets. They all are connective passers. They really don't have much of a weakness. And I think the Boston Celtics, I mean, they've been steamrolling this regular season. And then we have to see, like you said, they haven't really gotten over that hump. They made it to the finals, but weren't able to actually win it. But also at that same time, who do I trust more in the playoffs? I feel like I have to go the Denver Nuggets because they are the defending champions. We've seen Nikola Jokic turn it up in the playoffs. He is, in my opinion, the best player in the world. I feel like it's no real debate. I think he is by far the best. And then when you surround him with the pieces that they have, like Aaron Gordon and MPJ and Jamal Murray, KCP's having a great season. I feel like they are built to really just run it back and go through the West and make it to the finals again.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think like Boston has been more dominant as of late, especially like this season. Of course, their record shows it, but also like just the way they've been winning. I think I might have seen a stat like this might be the biggest point differential for any Celtics team ever. And I think they've started off the year, it's like their 3rd best start ever. And it's like you think about, this is a team with like 17 championships. So like the fact that they're up there with those level of teams, like I think that says a lot, especially because this is a team where it's like you might see teams like this, like maybe in their 3rd, 4th year. Like when the Bulls won 72 games. Like that was their fourth championship year. Like that wasn't their first one. So like to think like if this is the first Celtics championship like with this era, the fact that they're already competing up there with these level of Celtics teams, I think says a lot. So I would say from a dominance perspective in the regular season, Boston has that edge. Now, granted, I don't think Denver probably has the same motivation in the regular season. You usually see that from championship teams as time goes on. So I will say that. But at the same time, too, Denver has that playoff experience. And a guy like Jamal Murray has, he's shown like more signs, especially against like top tier teams. It's kind of funny. Someone said something like Jamal Murray, like how they were bashing, players get bashed where it's like they only play good against bad teams. They say Jamal Murray only plays bad against or only plays bad against the bad teams and only plays good against the good teams. Like it's just so funny how that works. But I don't know. I think like going into the playoffs, we've seen this team that they've already shown that they can get it done. You got like perfect pieces around them, like Michael Porter Jr. If he has another game shooting 10 for 10 like he did the other night, then I guess teams can say good luck because it's going to be really hard to stop this team. And then Aaron Gordon doing all the things like really on both ends of the floor, but more so as like a lob threat. And then defensively, and I think really like I was high on him before the season started, but most people were kind of underrating like some of those young guys they have off the bench. Like we already know Christian Brown was integral from last year, but like Peyton Watson or Julian Strawther, like these are guys who I think could get important minutes in the playoffs as well, especially Peyton Watson because he's already been getting some of those. But like even guys like Strawther, like maybe could be in the mix and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think I would trust Denver a little bit more in a playoff series. I mean, I've always said too, or like at least for the past year, like I think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA. Unless Kawhi Leonard wants to be, because I think he is capable of definitely like going head to head with anybody, but obviously Jokic just every single night like he pretty much brings it.
Yeah, and the thing with the Nuggets for me this season, the jump on defense that they've made as a team has really surprised me. I mean, when you have Jokic, you're gonna have a top 10 offense regardless of who's around you. You're gonna be a good offense. The defense though. That's what surprised me. And, that goes big shout out to Aaron Gordon, who I think is, one of the best versatile, like big wing to forward defenders. KCP is also, like I said, he's been having a great year defensively. And then also I think it speaks to Jokic and his ability to improve his defense. I feel like he's always been a little bit underrated. I think he knows how to take up space with his big body. He's got really fast hands and always, trying to guard stuff up in the paint and everything like that. And it's just really surprised me that they are a top 10 defense or like lingering around that top 10. And I think that's kind of what gives me like extra confidence to really put my chips onto the Denver Nuggets, even though the Celtics have been looking unbeatable.
I think too, like last year, I might be a little wrong, but I think they were like right around the middle of the league in defensive rating. So the fact that they're a little bit elevated this year, and probably have more confidence, I would say, because last year was more so about like proving that we can do this. I think like even up until probably that Lakers series, people weren't even giving them credit. Like, but once they swept in the conference finals, I think people were like, okay, like this team is legit and they're probably going to win it all at this point. Like it really took that long. And I think people they're kind of going a little bit under the radar still, which is a little crazy, but I don't know. I think Boston's great, and they definitely have a great chance, probably the best chance to make the finals, at least over the course of this season, like when you're looking at just the consistency that they've had and the all-around talent that they've had, especially around Tatum and Brown. But, I mean, it's going to be hard to knock off Denver.
Yeah, if I had to bet, I would say Denver and the Boston are who we're going to see in the finals. The one thing with Boston, which we've seen in the past, is the fact that they shoot so many threes. If they go cold, their offense really tanks. And I mean, this year they have one of the best defenses, and they can always rely back on that. And then also, this is a completely different Celtics team from years past, with Drew Holiday and Kristaps. Both of those guys are great three-point shooters. That's just like the one little thing that I am worried about is the fact that they don't really, like in the playoffs when it slows down and everything, I would like to see them get more of those easy buckets instead of keep shooting those threes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Sometimes their shot IQ just takes a colossal dip, and it's like you can't afford that, especially in the biggest games. And Jokic is one of, if not maybe the smartest player in the NBA. And if he's leading the head of that snake, and you're on the other side of it, then your team's going to be in trouble. But it should be good. I mean, we've seen these teams play already once this season. It was probably one of the best games we've seen because it was down to the wire. Boston's first loss at home, and they're going to have a chance to get revenge on Thursday because they're playing again, but this time in Denver. But, yeah, I don't know. If you want, we can move on here to the next topic. And I guess it's a little bit still based on the Celtics, but I guess that's not really the theme of this one. Obviously they destroyed Golden State the other day, 52 points, which I don't know off the top of my head if it is, but if I'm a betting man, I would bet that's probably the worst loss of Steph Curry's career, Klay Thompson's career.
It is the worst of their career, yes.
Yeah, I was like, I can't remember another time they lost by more than 50. So, just overall, it was just bad. But, then you had Draymond saying that they basically implemented the strategy defensively like 15 minutes before leaving the locker room. So, or after leaving the locker room or whatever. So, like, what do you make of that, really? Because this is a Warriors team that right now they're down. They're down there in the standings. I know they went on a win streak, but then you come out this game and, Jaylen Brown even said he felt like he got like disrespected. Like they were leaving him open. Like the start of the game, he was on fire because he was getting so many good looks. But what do you think?
I personally do not buy the fact that what Draymond's saying with how they just came up with the plan 15 minutes before game time. Like, I feel like, when you're playing like someone one-on-one or like you're playing like your younger brother in a video game, you lose and you're like, I wasn't even trying. That's why you won. I feel like that's kind of what Draymond is saying in this. And I feel like if that is actually what happened, that's a very stupid plan. And I'm happy that they got exposed for doing that, because why would you, when like since Draymond has been back, their defense has been good. It's been improved. Why would you just switch something up against the best team in the league 15 minutes before, like with no game plan or anything? It just doesn't make sense to me. And we've seen this team, be a dynasty and, led by Steve Kerr. It doesn't make sense on why they would just throw this plan out here with no type of actual plan, if we're being honest. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. Like, and you could tell they were getting frustrated. Like, I even remember like watching a play from the game, and I kind of even posted about it, like where Sarge was guarding Tatum, and then like Chris Paul like angrily is like, "Get out of here! Like, let me get him! Like, let me guard Tatum!" And then he took Tatum, and Tatum exposed him, and Sarge had to help out, and it left Derek White open, and he made a three, and I think that put him up like 40 or something like that. So like you could tell there's frustration boiling. You saw like all the faces on the bench, like Curry looked defeated, like Klay Thompson looked like he was like in a daze or something like that. Kevon Looney, same thing. Draymond was imitating that one meme where his face was like stuck at the press conference. Like it was just like overall a bad look. So I mean, I just don't know like what to think. Like I feel like, and it really like after the game too, like, if you heard like what Curry said, like it felt like kind of deflating a little, because he's like, this is like what we used to do to teams. So it's almost like just another indicator where it's like this Warriors team, like, while they're still in the mix and they could very well make the playoffs, it's like they're just not the Warriors team that they were, like, let alone like 6 years ago or whatever, when they had Kevin Durant, stuff like that, or when they won 73 games a few years before that. But like they're not even the team they were 2 years ago when they won the championship, and maybe some people felt was their worst roster winning a championship.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the quotes throughout the whole year of Klay Thompson and how he's been kind of struggling with, realizing his career is on the, the downside, and it's close to being over. And I feel like that could kind of be more of like a theme for the whole Warriors organization right now, on how they were dominating for so many years, and now eventually everything comes to an end. They're on that downward slope. So I feel like that could be a little bit of why Draymond was so frustrated, and kind of, to me, it seemed like a defense mechanism when he was answering those questions. And I mean, like I said, I just feel like it's a very stupid plan. Like, I know Jaylen Brown isn't the best three-point shooter, but on a lot of those shots, they weren't closing out. Draymond was, chopping his feet, but no hand up, like those fake closeouts. I just feel like if it was a plan, it was very stupid. And I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It just didn't make sense, and like it just seems weird. Like I feel like well, we can definitely tell like the energy is a little bit weird in that locker room, and like maybe behind the scenes. Uh, but like this is probably, and he's not having a bad year by any means. Probably by his standards the last few years because he's such a great player, maybe. But like with Steph Curry, like I don't remember him having this many like bad games in a season for a while. You know what I mean? Because like first of all, his 3-point streak ended this year, and ever since it ended, he's probably had like 4 or 5 games where he hasn't had a three, including the game the other night. But like just so many like whether it's single digit scoring games or games where it's like he just is scoreless in the first half. I think the game before that he was scoreless in the whole first half. So like I don't know like what's going on there. I think you can tell it's like a little bit like just a frustration. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think, like I said, I feel like the whole Warriors team right now is trying to deal with the fact of that they are on that downward. Like you said, Curry is still an amazing player, a top player in the league, but you could tell he is taking a few steps down. I feel like with LeBron being so good till he's 40 years old, we've kind of been, I guess you could say, desensitized to the fact that athletes do eventually get worse and they start to decline. But I feel like you definitely can see some of that with this Warriors team.
Yeah, for sure. And we're gonna get to something about LeBron here, but before we do that, we got one more topic here, and this one's a little bit crazy to say the least. Gilbert Arenas, he's I guess been known to say, and he's even said it a few times on his podcast that sometimes he might say some stuff that's a little bit crazy, and that's just kind of who he is. But one of these things that he said, definitely caught the eyes of a lot of people, and saying that the reason that the defense is so bad in the NBA today is that he's basically like, you got to get rid of all these European players, which is kind of insane. But I mean, I guess you think about some of the top players in the league, and like whether it's Jokic or if it's Luka or something like that, like, not maybe Jokic isn't really a bad defender, but they're not really known as like elite defenders. And so I guess to ask you, like, what do you think of this? Like, is he valid, or is he a cap?
I feel like it was a very surface level and ignorant take. I feel like if you just look at who the defensive player of the year is going to be this year, it's Rudy Gobert. And I know he mentioned his name in the clip as, one of the exceptions or whatever, but you can't discredit that. He is a European who has won multiple defensive player of the years, is one of the best rim protectors of all time from Europe. Then even beyond that, Victor Wembanyama this season, he's leading the league in blocks. He has been amazing on the defensive end, and again, is from Europe. I'm sure he's going to win multiple defensive player of the years throughout his career. And then if you just look even lower than that, like OG Anunoby, he is from the UK. That's in Europe. Kristaps Porzingis is a plus defender. Nicholas Batum in his prime was a plus defender. Like, there is plenty of examples of European players that are good defenders, above average defenders, great defenders even. So I feel like he kind of just used the overall stereotype of the unathletic white guy from Europe that can't play defense and just shoots threes, and kind of use that to broadly talk about all Europeans, and that is just not the case.
Yeah, and even Giannis too, because like Greece is technically in Europe. Like, I think like 4 straight defensive player of the years came from Europe. It wasn't a good take. Like I'll just say that. I mean, you said it. I'll agree. But like, I think that's probably what he was getting at, is mostly like the unathletic, like I guess like white guy, like stereo. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. It's just that, like, it's just like, I don't think it doesn't really make sense at all either, because like some of these guys, like, I could find a lot of players that aren't European that aren't good defenders. You know what I mean? Like, how often does Trae Young get ridiculed as a defender? And granted, I think this season he's actually been a little better than previous years. Still not great, but like still, like, he gets ridiculed all the time. Obviously, like, Ja is a high flyer, but like before he was out, like, some people were saying, well, he's not really playing much defense either. So you have other players that really like just aren't, I guess like the defense is just not the same, but also part of it is just like defense is a little bit different too. So guys that played maybe before that in the 90s and 80s, and like if you know me, like I'm always advocating for like the former players and stuff like that, but it's just a little bit different like guarding them. Like if you told some of the best defenders, like take Sidney Moncrief or whatever from the 80s, you told him to defend today the way that he defended back then, there's going to need to be some changes for it to work. Same thing with if you take an elite defender, like you take an OG Anunoby today and tell him to guard in the 90s and 80s, he's going to have to make some changes to like best suit his game. So like it just didn't make sense. Like calling out a whole, like all the European players, it was kind of wild.
I feel like if you kind of to your point right there, I feel like if you look into it on why defenses are different or are less prevalent now, instead of just saying it's because Europeans are in the league, if you look, it's because the increase in three-point shooting, the increase in pace of play, teams are looking at analytics. I feel like analytics is the real thing you should be angry at if you are mad that there's no defense, because teams have figured out, all right, if we shoot more threes at a higher pace, at a bigger clip, we're going to score more points. And I feel like that definitely makes it harder to play defense. You have to guard all of this space. You can't be as physical as you could be back in the 80s and the 90s. It's just harder to defend teams and players nowadays. So I think that's the real reason why there's, not as much defense in the NBA, not because there's more Europeans.
Yeah, and like the other thing too is like I think like with the and they were one of the best, actually they were the best defense at one point, but like sometimes the scheme with like certain, like to try and defend that, like it's going to be hard regardless, but like the scheme that I think Quinn Snyder really implemented with the Jazz is that like more so like Gobert was kind of like hanging down low, and it was trying to keep him from going out on the perimeter to guard those guys, but at the same time like a lot of those guys like weren't maybe fast enough or had enough lateral quickness to stay in front of their guys. So then it'd bring Gobert over, and everyone's just all out of sorts at that point, and that opens up the floor like so much more. So I don't know. I just think it was a bad take. Yeah, it's
definitely a bad take.
Definitely a bad take. But if you want, now we can move on here and talk a little bit about LeBron, like I was saying. And apparently, like there was a report that came out that apparently he's been like overriding some of Darvin Ham's play calling with his own plays. And I'm sure, there's a lot of stars that maybe at points will definitely give their input throughout the game. Like maybe we should do this, we should do that. But I think overriding is a pretty, I guess, important word to use, because it tells me it probably happens more times than it should, or than it happens regularly with other stars in the league. And, I mean, we remember, like, David Blatt when he was coaching, like, the Cavs, and I think even a critical one was when LeBron said, like, no, we're going to draw up this play for me, and it was against my Bulls, but he was originally supposed to inbound the ball on that one. So, like, and we eventually saw what happened with David Blatt. Got fired midway through the season, that they won a championship as well. So like to get fired in that case, I mean, it's pretty insane. And I don't anticipate Darvin Ham getting fired like right now, but I guess like what would you say maybe like this is a sign of for like his future with the team?
Well, first off, I want to congratulate LeBron for 40,000 points. I feel like that's an insane, achievement that we may never see again. But also for, what it means for Darvin Ham. I mean, there's been reports throughout basically this whole season that he's been, on the hot seat, that, there's, some discomfort in the locker room or whatever, however you want to word it. And I mean, with LeBron overriding these plays, I feel like that could definitely show some of that. And I mean, you would want your head coach to be able to draw up these plays and be, the leader of the team and everything. But at the same time, when you're talking about LeBron James, who is one of the best basketball minds of all time, he definitely knows what he's talking about. He knows what needs to be done. Like there's those stories where when he would play the Toronto Raptors in the playoffs, like he would be able to call out their plays for them. Like that just shows the basketball mind he is. So I feel like, if anything, instead of looking at it at like a negative to LeBron, where like I know some people like to call him a diva or whatever, I feel like if anything, it definitely shows more about Darvin Ham and maybe his lack of ability to be a head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think it takes, Well, first of all, it takes a strong-minded coach, I think, to coach LeBron, first of all, because you're going to definitely have times where, he's going to want to give his input and stuff. But there also has to be a line where you got to kind of be the right coach. And I don't think Darvin Ham has done that really, like the right way. Really, and we even saw like how big it might have been of a mistake because there were rumors that maybe LeBron, when he was with Miami, wanted Eric Spoelstra gone. And then Pat Riley said, nope, we're keeping him. They eventually won 2 championships together. And now, Spoelstra is regarded as probably like a top 10, 15 coach, maybe ever. So, like, I think, like, with that, it's like it definitely takes, like, a coach that's, willing to make adjustments and, I guess, like, overall just kind of, like, make changes for the best benefit of the team over the course of time. And sometimes, like, with Darvin Ham, you really haven't seen that. You've seen a lot of questionable stuff over his 2 years with the team. And just kind of like going back on his word like very quickly too. Like I think that's probably one of the biggest concerns that Laker fans have had. So the fact that like, LeBron is like overriding his play calls, like I said, like I'm sure every star does it. Like I still remember, I think when Durant and Kyrie were with Brooklyn last year, and it was like at the end of the game, and I think they drew up that play for Kyrie, but they said they were telling Jacques Vaughn like, nope, like let's run it like this, and then it resulted in the win. Like, so we see other stars do it, but I think like just the degree, the amount of times that it happens right now probably shouldn't be happening. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like LeBron's a player, not a player coach, so the coach should be able to coach, but Darvin Ham just isn't. I don't think he's really suited for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't want to discredit Darvin Ham's basketball mind because I'm not in the locker room. But like we've said, we've seen the reports and everything of players disgruntled with him, or whether he's doing things correctly or not. And in a perfect world, yeah, you would want your head coach to be able to say, all right, this is the play we're running, this is how we're doing it, this and that, and set everything up. But when you don't have a coach that's able to do that, and you're blessed to have a player like LeBron with his, great mind, I feel like it's kind of a give and take, I guess.
Yeah, and I will say, I think it's definitely like the situation is a little bit hard because I think one of the biggest examples I've used is Steve Nash, which, I'm a big Steve Nash fan, like probably my second favorite point guard ever. But, I think him getting that Nets job at that time, like your first head coaching job, like probably wasn't fair. He was set up to fail, I would say, a little bit, even if there were, things on his own end where he could have done better. But like, if you given him a team that was like young and maybe like, like if you gave him maybe Oklahoma City when they were first starting to break out, I think the perception of him as a coach would have been a lot better. And I think for Darvin Ham, it's like he was an assistant all these years, like he was with Milwaukee and stuff like that. Like then he came over, his first like real big gig is coaching LeBron, who's still, he's always going to have like winning hopes, you know what I mean? Whether they're down in the dumps or they're up there, like he's going to always have like winning hopes. And it's definitely like, especially in LA and especially like with LeBron, all the, I guess like drama that comes around that, like it's a big spotlight. So like if you fail, it's, yeah.
I definitely agree. And especially like you said, it's, you have to have the right coach to coach LeBron James. And then to be your first year. I mean, we just saw in Milwaukee this season, Adrian Griffin being the first year head coach with these, great these stars on his team and the expectation to win a championship. We see how hard it is. Even though he was winning games with them, obviously there was something wrong where they had to, fire him and get Doc Rivers in there. So I definitely think it's hard to be able to control the personalities on the court while also coach the entire team to win games, and then to be, a first-time head coach while having to deal with this, it definitely is rough.
For sure, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, if you want, we can move on, close the show here with the NBA chain game minigame. I've never done this before, so I'll explain how it goes. So, my guy Jacob here, I'm going to ask him, there's really like 3 questions for this, and basically how the chain game works is there's going to be 8 words that are correlated in some way. They're all NBA or basketball related to some extent. And I'm going to give you the first word and I'm going to give you the last word. You got to connect them. But I'll also give you like the first letter of each word in between. If you guess it wrong, like you get a wrong answer or something like that, I'll give you a hint for that, and then you can guess again. But every time you get one wrong, I'm going to take points away. So the maximum amount of points you can get on each turn is 10 points. So if you go perfect, you get 30 points.
All right, let's get it. Going for 30.
Going for 30. All right, we'll see. So the first one, again, and there are 8 words in between each one. So the first word is Dwayne, and I should spell Dwayne. It's Duane. And the last word is vision in the whole chain. So I'll ask you, do you want the first letter on the second word or the second to last word?
We'll do the first letter above vision.
Okay, the first letter above vision is the letter T.
T vision. This 30 points is going to be way harder than I thought. T vision. I was thinking like court vision, but obviously that's not a T. Damn, I might already need a hint.
Okay, well, if you do ask for a hint too, that will just take 1 point away though.
Yeah, I assumed.
Okay, so to get you the hint, it's not more so. This isn't more so like the word itself is not a basketball thing, but it's something you go under.
Under T vision.
It's more so like a phrase that people have, like when, what should I say, like they don't really have the best court awareness.
Bad court awareness for under T vision.
Yeah.
This is a hard one.
You could also ask for the other letter too if you want to switch.
Yeah, we'll see what that one is.
Okay, that won't take any points away. But so the first word was Dwayne, spelled Duane, and the first letter of the second word is a W.
Well, I know it's not Dwayne Wade. That's not how you spell it. Dwayne W. Yeah, this game is way harder than I was expecting.
I feel like I should have started actually with the second question. I feel like that might have been the easiest, but yeah.
I mean, I guess I'll throw the guess out there, even though I doubt it's right. Dwayne Wade.
It is not Dwayne Wade. So that'll take a point away. But so the hint I'll give you though for that is, I guess it's a 2-part hint. So it's technically someone who's on the Knicks.
Dwayne Washington.
Yeah, okay. You got it right there. So Dwayne Washington. Okay. And now do you want the first letter after Washington?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, it's a W.
So now I'm doing Washington and then W?
Yeah.
Washington Wizards.
That is correct. It is Washington Wizards.
Got the ball rolling.
Now this next one, Wizards, and the next letter begins with a B.
Wizards B. The Bullets, because it was the Washington Bullets.
That is correct. It is the Bullets. So now you're on a roll.
I just had to get the first one, and then we're good.
So Bullets, and the next letter of the next word begins with a G.
Bullets and G. Gilbert Arenas, because he brought the gun inside the Wizards locker room.
No, it is not Gilbert Arenas. But you did just say the word in there.
Gun?
Yes, gun. And you also said the other word in there. So the next word starts with an A.
Arenas.
Yes. So gun, Bullets, gun Arenas. And then Arenas, T vision.
Arenas, back to this one. Arenas, T vision.
I will say too, it's Gilbert Arenas, but it might be pronounced like another way if you're referring to the word after it.
Arenas. I'm trying to think right here. Arenas T.
Do you want another hint?
Yeah, I might need that hint.
Okay, the hint I'll give you is, I guess, to make the link make the most sense. So arenas, think of it more like arenas, like an arena blank and then blank vision.
Arenas. I'm thinking time right now, even though I don't think that's the right answer. Damn, this one's kicking my ass.
I think on the next hint you might get it, but we'll see if you can get it right now.
I guess I'll throw the guess out there. Time.
It is
Even
not
though,
time.
yeah.
Okay, so the next hint I'll give you is it's more so, this word is more so like a passageway.
Ticket.
It is not ticket.
Arenas and ticket. No.
It is not ticket. So yeah, 4 possible points though still for this one. Um, what's a good hint I could give for this? Hmm. What is a good hint I could give?
I'm trying to think of all the hints that you gave me,
Okay.
and like,
Okay. So the next hint I'll give you is like when cars are driving on the road and they go in these sometimes where they're blocked from the outside.
tunnel.
Tunnel. You got it. Yep.
Tunnel.
So
Okay.
like arena tunnel and then like tunnel vision. Like,
Oh, tunnel. All right,
yeah.
that makes a lot more sense
Yeah.
now that I know. All right. All
So
right, that's not terrible. Really, just that last one was the one that was tough. Everything else, I'm confident. I'm ready for the second one.
yeah, the tunnel one was probably the toughest word of them all, but you did get it. You got 4 points. The second one, I guess I should have started with the second one, so this might be easier.
Perfect.
So the first word is Marquise, and the last word at the very end is roll. Do you want the first letter before roll or the first letter after Marquise?
I'll go after Marquise.
So after Marquise is the letter C.
I was hoping you were going to say N for Marquise Noel. That's my boy. Marquise C.
I will say Marquise is spelled like Marqueuse.
Q-U.
If that helps.
Marquise. Marquise Christie?
Uh,
I don't even know if that's a real name.
you kind of Marquise Chris. That's
Chris.
what it was. Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah. So I'll give that to you. The next one after Chris is the letter P.
Chris Paul.
Correct. And after Paul is the letter G.
Paul George.
Yep. After G is the letter K.
G. So George K. Why am I blanking on all Georges? George K. I can't even think of a single George right now. I might need a hint on this one.
Okay, I'll give you the hint. So this is a former coach.
George Karl?
George Karl, that is correct. And Karl M.
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone. And then this next link is a little bit hard, but Malone and then the letter P and then P roll.
Malone and P.
I would more so link the P with the roll.
The roll? I'm thinking pick and roll.
You are correct. It is pick and roll.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I was trying to like, that one was more so like a situation, like Karl Malone sets the pick, then he rolls.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
But that is pretty good. So you got 9 points on that one. You only needed 1 hint, so that is pretty good. Doing nice. 13 points overall. Last one. This one might be a little bit interesting. There are some easy ones I think in here, but it could be a little bit hard. So are you ready?
Yep. Let's get it.
All right. So the first word is LeBron. The last word is rating.
I'll go below LeBron.
So below LeBron is a J.
LeBron James.
Okay, that is correct. After James is a W.
James W. See, I'm better with last name, connecting last names to first names. So now I'm thinking of Jameses across the league. I wanted to go perfect 10 on this last one, but I'll take a hint.
Okay, so you'll take a hint. So this is a former Laker.
Former Laker, James W.
And he was pretty good too. So I will say that.
Pretty good former. James Worthy.
James Worthy, that's correct. This next one is more so like a phrase, I would say, but Worthy, and the next letter begins with an O.
Worthy opponent.
That is correct. Worthy opponent. Now, the next word after opponent starts with a P.
Opponent P. Opponent player?
That is incorrect.
Damn.
So the word that begins with a P, it's more so like I guess like a stat.
A stat. Opponent. I'm thinking percentage. I don't know if I want to throw that answer out there. Opponent points?
It is points. So it's a good thing you held
Nice.
back on percentage. So after points is the letter S.
Points S. Scoring?
That is incorrect.
Damn.
I feel like this one, like the letter S, like is more so like a betting phrase, like you'd say, like so points S.
Points S. Betting.
Like trying to cover.
The spread.
Yes, it is the points spread. And then the last word, so spread, then the letter O, then rating. Yeah.
Spread offense.
That is correct. It is spread offense. Good job. Wow. I thought that would be a little harder actually, but you got 7 out of the 10 points.
Yeah, that one. I feel like the first one, that T just messed me up. But once I got the ball rolling for these games, I was able to get myself back on track.
I was tempted to. I wasn't gonna throw a shot, but I was tempted to say that, like for the T, it's something that some people have said RJ Barrett has. But yeah, I mean overall, you still got like what is that, like 20 points of 30, and really the first one was kind of like a feel out type of thing.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'll take 20. And you said this is the first time doing this game, right?
This is the first time I've done it.
I'm the all-time leading scorer right now. Yep.
You are king of the mountain right now.
Yep.
I'm surprised you actually got opponent so quickly. I thought that one would be like hard, like a worthy opponent, but
see, you said that it was a phrase, and I was like, all right, it just kind of, I don't know, it clicked for me.
Yeah, but I think it did pretty good. Yeah, but overall, I mean, W performance. I think it was a W show. I'm glad that we could collab on this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. You got any other final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
No, thank you for having me again. I mean, you guys, viewers that have never seen me, I do have a YouTube channel where I go over basketball content. So make sure you go subscribe to Jacoblocks. Again, thank you for having me, man. This was a lot of fun. I'd love to be back.
Yes, sir. And I'll have his stuff in the description below so you can easily check it out. But yeah, again, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.